Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today, we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Our first story today comes to us from LDS 1998. New TV service subscription is to my liking, so I want to refund. Let's jump right in. So I work in a call center for a major telecom operator. Let's call them MJ in my country. Now, my job is quite simple and easy. Call newly subscribed customers and ask them how installation was done to their liking and the contract is like they asked for. Now, this customer, let's call them Maria. Maria is a new customer and is on my list to call. She got a pretty awesome package of service for a great price, plus a free 32-inch TV, 1 month free service, and free sports channels for 12 months, and I get to call her. Hi, my name is LDS 1998. I'm calling from MJ about your recent subscription to our service, and it's to make sure you're happy with the service. Oh, hello, I am very happy. Better than insert major telecom number 2 here. But my daughters aren't, they don't have enough internet on their cell phones. Okay, let's check your daughter's cell phone plan. I see here both your daughters have 10 gigabytes for normal navigation, plus 15 gigabytes for social networks, and 5 gigabytes for YouTube, and 5 gigabytes for Netflix. Could you tell me where they are lacking in internet? I think it was Facebook. I see. Your daughters were using around 10 gigabytes of mobile data on WhatsApp and 5 gigs on Facebook. So to make sure you're even happier, I will apply 5 more gigabytes free of charge for 24 months of contract. Does that sound good? Now, this extra 5 gigabytes I'm giving out of free will and is not company policy, but they gave my job a free use policy to make the customer happy as long as responsible and not abusive and doesn't affect the value of the contract. I don't think 5 gigabytes is enough. Make it 20 gigabytes. I am sorry, miss. Maria, I'm not able to do that. Using 15 gigabytes in just 1 week in Facebook and WhatsApp is a bit much. What I can do, if this is not your liking, is make both your daughter's number unlimited mobile data for just €10 extra a month for both phones as a special offer. Does this sound better? Now, this offer is using the policy to make the customer happy, and for me to go to bed for the day and already cleared with my supervisor if I could apply this offer. I would like to pay the same, but unlimited internet for 10 more euros sounds good for the happiness of my little angels. Alright, your contract has been changed, and both your daughters will have the new data plan activated in around an hour. Sounds great, so how are you going to refund me for the time I hadn't had this contract? I'm sorry, what refund? Your service is not working correctly? It is, but before I hadn't had unlimited, and I had to listen to my daughters complain that they didn't have internet on the cell phone, and I would like to have a refund on my first bill. I was in shock with this, so it took me a moment to get my lines in order. So your service was great, there wasn't a problem with the service, and you want a refund for 1 week for a bad contract that wasn't aligned with your use case? At this point, I was going to give her €10 just so I could go to bed, and my work doesn't pay extra hours even though we go over the work hours on a regular basis. But we got bank hours to use when we miss work, so it evens out. Don't be silly, I want the whole month, obviously. Miss Maria, that's not possible. It was a high usage of mobile data from your daughters. The company provided the service as it was in the contract. Well, if you can't find it to make me happy on this request, I'm afraid I will have to cancel your contract. Miss Maria, just to make sure, you want to cancel your contract with our company because we won't give you a free month of service, although you already have 1 month free? That is correct. Doesn't your supervisor say the customer is always right? I am sorry, Miss Maria. I can't give you another free month on top of your already free month on the reason that we gave the service that you contracted. Do you still wish to cancel your service? Yes, I am. Also, I would like your name and company ID to make a complaint about you being so bad with customers. I will connect your call with the Department of Cancellation, and my name is LDS 1998. As for company ID, I can't provide that information as it's private info. I am sorry. I want your company ID before you transfer the call. I am sorry. Company ID can't be provided to customers. To make a complaint, only the name and the time of the call is needed to make the complaint to the correct person. It states that on our website. Just transfer the call to your colleague. He will comply with my request. You're good for nothing. I am going to transfer the call. The call was transferred and my colleague was having nothing of it and just started canceling the contract before talking to the customer. I read the internal report on the situation. There was a formal complaint. The action of both me and the colleague was fine, but I should not have offered unlimited internet for €5 each phone, but should have been €6. Contract was cancelled, Miss Maria lost all offers, and best of all, the client had €500 for early termination fees and €320 for installation of service. By the way, English is not my first language, and I'm typing this on a phone that I have at work without my computer system, with nothing to do except browsing Reddit. Threatening to cancel your service really doesn't matter to the person you're talking to on the other end of the phone. In fact, you might be doing them a favor by them not having to deal with you calling back in again. It is pretty neat how the trash takes itself out sometimes. I love stories like that. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our second story today comes to us from Dirtonius. You want to go to the hospital in an ambulance when you live across the street? Okay, let's jump right in. I was in an apartment building for work earlier today when I saw an ambulance pull up to the front door and 2 paramedics come out. I opened the door to let them inside, and they proceeded up to the unit of their call. I wasn't deliberately eavesdropping, but the walls are paper thin, so I could hear the entire conversation. Did you call for an ambulance? Yeah, I'm feeling kinda anxious, and I need them to give me something to calm me down. You do realize the hospital is right across the street, right? Yeah, but I didn't want to walk. Context: this building is literally across the street from the hospital, separated by a seldom used road. I don't mean down the road or a couple blocks away. You can literally see the front entrance of the hospital from the front door of the apartment building. If I'm being generous, it's about 100 meters door to door. Normally, an ambulance costs money, but this individual was forthcoming enough to inform the paramedics that he was on government assistance and that the program covered ambulance costs for transport to the nearest hospital. The paramedics were audibly annoyed at the situation, essentially being used as a free taxi to get across the street in the rain for a non-emergency. But they end up taking this guy down to the ambulance. When I finally left the building several minutes later, the paramedics were still sitting outside with the patient doing their assessment, hooking him up to a blood pressure and pulse monitor. The patient was annoyed that they wouldn't just drop him off at the hospital, but policies are policies, and the paramedics could be liable were a medical emergency to occur en route to the hospital. As I drove away, they were still sitting outside. A part of me hopes they're still out there assessing hours later. Perhaps the patient will learn his lesson about calling an ambulance for mundane health concerns and will elect to walk to the hospital next time. That's probably wishful thinking though. I'm getting the feeling that this person might have been a frequent flyer at the hospital, and they might have been told that they weren't allowed to come back in unless they were brought in by emergency services or were literally dying. It kinda sucks that they tied up an ambulance, but I really do hope they get the help they need, whether it be physical problems or mental ones. Our next story today comes to us from Dark909911. At least I'm not stupid. Let's jump right in. I just saw yesterday one of the funniest and greatest petty revenge on a rude customer at the corner store. I was not part of this, just a witness. I went to the corner store to pick up some milk. I was third in line, and the man at the till was being rude to Kathy. See, Kathy has Down syndrome, but can do most tasks anyone else can. Sometimes a bit slower, but there are things she is good at. Packing bags was like watching a professional Tetris player getting everything in its place. The till is where she was a bit slower. Numbers always threw her off. Rude guy was paying for some gas, cigarettes, and a couple of monster drinks. Kathy scanned the monsters, but it didn't come up with the sale price. It was supposed to be 2 for a certain price, but if you ring them separately for some reason, it rang them up at the usual price each. Her trainer was teaching her how to correct it, so she said to rude guy, "I will only be a second, sorry for the mix-up." Now, I don't know if the rude guy was having a bad day or was just a total butthole, but his next words caused everyone in listening distance to stop and stare. Well, if they didn't hire R-word people, things just might get done right. Kathy looked at him still with a huge smile, as if the comment was never made. The mistake was fixed and she gave him the correct total. Here is where Kathy got her malicious compliance. Rude guy kept putting his card in the reader, but it never worked. He said, "Your machine is broken. It won't read my card. It must be as R-word as you are." He tried another 2 times and was about to rant more when Kathy looked him square in the face and said these beautiful words: "I may be R-word and the machine may be R-word, but at least we aren't stupid. Who tries to use their Medicare card to pay for things? Too bad you can't say that." That is when he looked, and sure enough, it was the wrong card. Using his bank card, he paid and started leaving when Kathy called behind him. "If you lost your car in the parking lot, I can help you find it. After all, I am just R-word and not stupid." I can imagine that would have cost most people their job, but I think Kathy will come out of this unscathed, perhaps a talking to, but nothing more. At least I hope not. I hope she is on till next time I go. From the comment section down below, I loved this one. It says, "Youch, guy might need to get some aloe vera for that burn. In my country, we have a saying, toss the ball, be ready to catch it." Guy tossed the ball and got hit in the face. Our next story today comes to us from Arcturius. "My job is to answer the phone at all times? Alright, I'll answer it. Let's jump right in." A couple years ago, I worked for a real estate company as the manager of its co-living division. Think of it as a living arrangement where the company leases the apartment from the property owner, remodels it, and then subleases to multiple tenants by the room. It's legal in my country. The owner of the company, let's call him Dick, last name Face, had a tendency to misguide company funds. As such, he was constantly late on rent payments to the owners. One night, he calls me to tell me that, as manager, my responsibilities now included coordinating rent payments. I think nothing of it, because it's a simple enough task, and it doesn't take much time. What he didn't tell me was that he called every single property owner and told them that he was too busy, so I was now in charge of paying their rent, and that if it was late, they should talk to me. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and Mr. Face is still misguiding company funds, so there isn't any money for paying rent, even though I know for a fact we're generating enough revenue. Owners are constantly calling me during weekends and nights, so I don't answer the phone because it's not working hours. Dick calls me on a weekend and he's very upset. It seems that owners can't reach me at their convenience, so instead they're calling him. He tells me it's my job to answer the phone every single time and tell them what's going on with the rent payment. So I say, "Okay, sure, sorry," and we hang up. Enter malicious compliance. Next time an owner calls me up, he nicely asks, "Hey, I just wanted to know what's going on with my rent payment. Can you please give me a date or any info?" And I pretty much say, "I'm sorry, sir. We had the money in the account, and my boss took it for unknown reasons. Unfortunately, I don't know when and if that money will be back in the account, so I suggest you ask him directly." I do the same for about 5 days with every owner that calls me, as I now make sure to answer every single call that I get, even if it's outside working hours. By next weekend, my boss has a voicemail inbox full of angry property owners asking what he's doing with the money he's supposed to pay them. Apparently, he was using it to remodel his own apartment and buy a new car for his wife, and threatening to sue the company because of what I told them. He was livid, suspended me without pay, to which I replied with my resignation, and the company went under a few months later, partly because COVID and co-living don't get along very well. Bonus note, I later found out that one of the owners showed up at his house literally wielding a big butt stick. When the doorman refused to let him in, he yelled on the street until neighbors came out and the police showed up. Dick tried to blame the whole thing on me, even telling owners that I had ran away with their money, but pretty much no one believed him. The best part, he had promised to make me a partner, but didn't. If he had, then I would have been liable for all of this, but he was a selfish dick and got what he deserved. Oh, and before anyone tells me I should have sued or called the police on him, bear in mind, this is in a third world country, so there's literally no point. If a company wants you to be available 24/7, then they need to be compensating you in some way for 24/7 work. I'd say, unless there's something in your contract stating otherwise, turning off your phone and just not answering any work calls outside of work hours sounds like a wonderful idea. Our last story today comes to us from Cadre of Storms. For the sake of 3 minutes, let's jump right in. I was reminded of this from another post. I worked in the tourism sector in a museum as a hands-on historian and actor. Our job was to expand on the text and exhibitions, play games with the kids, answer questions, and be general fonts of useless knowledge. 8 of us, and we had medieval characters, wore costumes, and were generally well received. It was hokey and corny, but fun. Hardly a stellar paying job, but we all loved what we did, knew a lot, and worked darn hard to make sure guests were happy. Until our old boss had to leave due to family issues, and we got a new one, a real corporate manager. Before she arrived, our old boss was pretty lax. He didn't have to be breathing over our shoulders as he knew that we did our jobs. We had a clocking in machine, and the rule was logging out 3 minutes early or late didn't affect our pay. Because we enjoyed the work, we always come in early, clock in, not being paid, to set everything up. We had to get dressed, set up the games, make sure the activities were out, general maintenance stuff. This took time. Occasionally, we ended up staying late if something unexpected came up. Again, no problem. When the new boss started, she didn't straight away start making changes, but she was watching us. Our work is obviously dependent on how much human traffic we have. If there is no patrons, there's nothing for us to do. The flip side was that when it was busy, we didn't have time to blink. She called us into a meeting and said that it wasn't suitable that during quiet time, we were standing around talking, and we should be engaging in some kind of work like cleaning, tidying, or picking up rubbish, despite that we had a team that did that. So work for work's sake, to justify our wages as we weren't being paid to chat. It was explained to her by our unofficial team leader that you're not just paying for our labor, but our time as well. She did not like or understand this idea, but we made ourselves look busy. She also believed that she knew the job better than we did, stopped listening to our suggestions, and started making little rules of what we could and couldn't tell people regarding the history. Nothing too gruesome, for instance. Ever met children? They love the gory details, age appropriate of course. There's a reason why horrible histories is so popular. The second issue cued the malicious compliance. Again, another meeting. This time over the 3 minutes early clock out. That we were paid until 1700, not 1657. That our hours were 10 to 1700, no mention of us clocking in early, so we did just that. No one clocked out before 1700. But no one clocked out after 1701 either, nor did we clock in early anymore. More than once, she saw us standing at the clock-in machine at 9:55, asked us to clock in. We said no, that it wasn't our time. She tried telling us that we should be in early to prepare, regardless of whether we were being paid. We told her no, working without pay is not what we were doing. This meant that those 20 to 25 minutes per person setup were now being done once we were clocked in. No longer was the museum ready when the doors opened. Early morning patrons noticed. Because of her making them work every second regardless, it also meant the team was often scarce. We would be moving rubbish, filling leaflet shelves, getting rid of cleaning instruments, and also, to be frank, hiding to get 5 minutes of peace. Morale also fell, so we followed the letter, but not the spirit of the job description. We frankly stopped caring as we didn't feel valued. I don't know what it's like now as the entire team left within 9 months. Far as I know, she's still there. Don't know how she's running the ship, but none of us have been back. Going back to something that's been mentioned in probably well over 50 of these videos now, is that people generally don't leave jobs, they leave managers, and that's definitely what happened in this case. I'd also like to mention that I've definitely left managers in the past, and as is becoming a trend in these videos, I'd just like to say again, screw you, Rick. Check out all 5 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching, hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.